This is the Baltimore City Council Judiciary and Legislative Investigations Hearing Committee. We are here for Council Bill 17-0046R, Request for State Action, Police Redistricting, introduced by Councilman Brandon Scott. I'm joined to my left by Councilman Brandon Scott, sponsor of the bill. From the 2nd District, to his left, Councilman Chris Burnett from the 8th District. To his immediate left, Councilman John Bullock from the 9th District. At the right table is our colleague Councilman Zeke Cohen from the 1st District. We're also, staff to the committee is DePaul Nibber. The mayor is represented by Karan Banks. Council President Young is represented by Liam F. Davis from his Legislative Services Division, newly promoted. The mayor is also represented by Poetry Deal, and the council president is also represented by Kara Kunst. If you have any cell phone devices on you, please make sure those are turned to off, mute, or vibrate. If you are planning on testifying and you are a member of the public, please be sure to sign in. What is going to happen is, first I'm going to pass it off to Councilman Scott to give brief introductory remarks. Then we are going to have testimony from both the police department and the mayor's office of criminal justice, and then we will take testimony from the general public, and then we will vote on the resolution. So with that, Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for everybody for being here. As many people know, police redistricting is probably one of the most discussed pieces of legislation or items discussed in this body. It's been discussed for quite some time, starting with almost always with a council person representing Northeast Baltimore, as far back as Councilperson Martin O'Malley, then Councilman Bobby Curran, Councilman Ken Harris, who is no longer with us, and Councilman Bill Henry, who of course is still with us today, and now with myself. We were able to get quite far with this issue in Annapolis last year. We know that we haven't redone the police districts in Baltimore in far too long, and we know that our police commissioner and our district commanders need a new look at how our district boundaries and outlines are done so that we can police in a more efficient manner. And Mr. Chair, I am pleased that we will all be working together to make this happen this year as we move into session. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Let's start off with the Baltimore Police Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim Gillis on behalf of the Baltimore Police Department. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the police department will submit on the letter of support. We are supporting this resolution, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
He said he got your letter.
Okay.
He's standing by. Oh, did you give? Ask him if he gave copies. He needs his.
All right, and just to confirm, Mr. Gillis, Baltimore Police Department supports this bill?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further testimony, Inspector Worley or Mr. Gillis?
No, sir. No, sir.
Thank you very much. Chief Vetter? Director Vetter.
Thank you for preserving the title, but no longer a chief, unfortunately. So,
You're the chief.
Drew Vetter, Director of the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice. Here on behalf of the Mayor's Office, I'll just add that in addition to the administration's support of the resolution, that taking a look at the district boundary lines is something that the mayor mentioned in her violence reduction plan that was released a couple months ago. So it is something that we're interested in taking a look at. I would note that, I think the legislation certainly compels it, but legislation is not required to do this. And I think it's our intention to take some steps as to looking into how we can initiate this process even before it would be required through statute after the next census, which I believe is 2020. So again, we're in support and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any questions for BPD or Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice? All right, at this point, we'll move on to public testimony. First off, we have Mike Hilliard. Mr. Hilliard? Yes, sir. You're up to bat, sir.
I'm sorry, Councilman Costello. I had to.
No apologies necessary.
Thank you. My name's Mike Hilliard. I'm the Community Services Director of the Harbell Community Organization in Northeast Baltimore, and I'm also a retired major from Baltimore City Police Department. The last time the department redistricted, I was known as Sergeant Hilliard, and I was much thinner, had much more hair, and it wasn't gray, and that was in the 1980s. Inspector Worley is now trying to allocate personnel on a deployment method that is based on 1980s data. And as I'm sure has been said before, this has caused a number of things. Number one is districts are understaffed, and this has led to a dysfunction between the police department and its communities, particularly concerning issues surrounding response time. So it would be to the benefit of the citizens of Baltimore and the Baltimore Police Department if every 10 years they were forced to redeploy their districts and redraw their districts based on current census data instead of operating on what's now 1980s data that they're working with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Next up, we have Christina Delgado.
Christine. I don't see her. She wasn't in. I didn't see her. She's not in there.
No, Christina. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to testify, who has not signed up?
I didn't see Christina at all.
You ready to move it?
I'm fine.
Gary?
Oh, yeah.
I know that Council President Young wanted to be here. He's actually at a swearing-in ceremony with the mayor right now downstairs, but he asked me to convey that he is in support of this resolution as well. Is there a motion to move the resolution favorably?
Make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Councilman Scott. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Bullock.
Hold on. Oh, never mind. I didn't see Leon. You're good.
Councilwoman Clark is absent. Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilman Pinkett?
Yes.
Councilman Reisinger is absent. Councilman Scott?
See?
Councilman Stokes is absent, and Costello is a yes. This bill moves to second reader on December 4th. Thank you, everyone. Please be sure to check under your seat for your belongings.